Hi, Eight of Cups family. Welcome to Eight of Cups Tarot and welcome to your weekly edit. If you're new here, my name is Christina. I try to jump in once a week and do a 3-card pick-a-pile reading and give you a little bit of an intro with the astrology for the next week or so. Now, if you've noticed, I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. It's just been an extremely hectic time, and I do appreciate all of your patience. I did have a major calling to set some stuff aside this week and get down to this reading. So I know that a lot of you may be anxious for some new messages, wondering what the heck's going on. So here I am to let you know. I personally want to tell you guys that I love the month of February. I love it for all of us and for so many reasons. First and foremost, all planets are finally direct, right? Venus retrograde was a beast for so many people. We really had to come to terms with our own shadow side of our ideas of pleasure and love and finances and support and friendships, and there's so much there. And then we had the Mercury retrograde going over the same point, everything hitting Pluto, and it will continue to hit Pluto. This week, we're going to have Mercury make a conjunction with Pluto for the third and final time. Look, we're really finalizing some things in our lives. We're really making those big decisions. And because we also have these really strong aspects with Saturn throughout the month, the things that we're changing and the new things that we're bringing in hold a lot of long-term potential. Meaning we're closing out karmic cycles and we're starting new ones. And these are probably things that are going to be long-term in our lives. We're talking about, if you're going to start a new career, it's probably going to get you through the next 5, 10, 20-year cycle. Same thing in relationships. If you're leaving an old marriage or you're falling in love with somebody or you're taking a commitment to the next level, you could probably expect that if everything feels right and you're not having like an internal conflict with it, then most likely these are moves that are going to last a long time. Now, what I really love about this month in general is the aspects with Uranus. We have Jupiter starting to make a sextile to Uranus. This Pisces, Taurus kind of area is just so juicy because that, and as well, it's touching up on the North Node, right? So it's not there yet, but we're getting a taste of what later on in the year is going to bring. And February is such a beautiful, peaceful month, guys. It's just, there's a quiet here. There's I want to say like a checking in period, right? I think we're all ready to make some really big moves and really big decisions. And I think we're also aware that this has to come like internally from us and us only. So what I do want to tell you is, as introspective as you might be this month, it's also important to stay really open to signs and synchronicities, to the conversations we have with others. Check your emails, look at those weird stories, like follow your instincts this month. And that's really important with Jupiter and Uranus, because believe me when I tell you, you're being guided. There's so many inner voices, there's so much support from the universe. I don't know if you guys ever heard that saying, if you knew who was supporting you that you couldn't see, you would never ever feel alone. And I think now is a really good time. I've been preaching about all of this with Jupiter and Pisces. It's a really good time to lean in on your faith, to understand the way that the universe works. Of course, some things have to come to an end. We're meant to outgrow situations and enter into new situations. And although it might feel scary, we might feel guilty, a lot of these readings that I've been getting lately have been about releasing ourselves from these binding contracts, whether they're physical binding contracts, whether they're marriage or relationships or business partners, or just like what we have felt so tied to, the way that we live, the things that we're committed to. And I think a lot of these things just don't fit our vision for the future. That's what this Uranus Saturn square has been. It's like how we've always done it as opposed to what we wish it would be. We're all seeking this freedom, and if we could take a step back from the how for a minute, there's going to be answers and opportunities that come to us from pretty pretty unusual places, right? Like things you wouldn't expect to hear, signs. And it's important to stay open when we're there. We also have some aspects with Pluto in the nodes. And when you mess with Pluto in the nodes, we're talking about major transformations in our lives, okay? So Pluto is starting to make this trine to the North Node in Taurus. So you want to be careful because there are new people and new things coming in. New things are being formed. But it also means that we have to see the old for what it is. We have to start to look at our priorities and probably sort through what stays and what goes. And it may not be the easiest transit, right? Pluto wants you to step into your power. And if you're not believing in yourself, if you're carrying a lot of baggage from the past, if you're carrying a lot of those old ideas, and definitely if you're carrying a lot of self-limiting thoughts, it's going to be harder for you to make this transition than somebody who's a little bit more in the Fool energy and just open to the universe talking to you and guiding you in some way. And I think it's really important in the month of February to really tune in. Remember that as we move into March, by the end of February, move into March, we start to move into Pisces season. And this is where Jupiter is. And this is when Jupiter starts to really do his magic. And then we have the Jupiter conjunction in April. So Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. So there's so much, like we're in this period of buildup. Things are spiraling down. Things are moving up, and we've got to be careful about where we place ourselves in the bigger picture, okay? I want everyone to know that where you are in reality, like your physical dwelling, where you live, where you work, the relationships you're in, whatever those things are, you may be hungry for that change right now, but it's important that you realize that these physical realms take a minute to catch up with where we are spiritually and vibrationally. So I think we've all been through this intense change, and we all kind of have to get over ourselves. We have to get over our fears and our guilt and all of this stuff in order to implement the new. And yet it's so important to understand that we're so supported by the dream. We're so supported by the actual manifestation, by the vision board kind of stuff. Emotionally, how do you want to feel with your life? And to really get clear on those things, because once you create that picture in your mind, the rest of it just kind of falls into place. The universe is working with you, so they hear you. You want to be careful that you're not having like these self-talks where you're like, oh, that's not possible. Oh, I would never make enough money, or this person would never like me, or whatever it is. I'm not good enough. Like, we don't have time for that. And when we start to move into this Pisces energy, remember it always makes that opposition to Virgo, which talks about our readiness. You know, Pisces is always ready to let go. It's transcendent. But that Virgo energy is where we stay rooted to our foundations, to our financial limits, to our physical limitations, and we can kind of actually convince ourselves that we're not ready. So in this moment, you have to look at February as this major preparation point. Now, that doesn't even necessarily mean you're going to be doing work or laying the physical foundations. It could just be in your mind. But also remember that we still have Mars going through Capricorn, and the magic really starts to happen in the next couple of weeks as Mars makes a conjunction with Venus in Capricorn. They both head up and meet up with Pluto. So we have a 3-planet conjunction, Mars, Venus, and Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. And this is all about the rebalancing. And that's what this month is about, the balancing between our masculine and our feminine, how important it is that not only do we have to be able to go out and make things happen, to do the work, to get the things done. Mars in Capricorn is really all about that self-discipline. It's about the strategy. How are we going to do this? And Venus comes along and she says, well, sometimes things just work because you want them to. Sometimes you just attract these opportunities for you. There has to be a balance in our lives. And of course, we can put all the work in the world into something, but if we don't believe in it, it's not going to happen. And of course, we could sit around and dream about something working out all day. We could dream about winning the lottery, but if we don't go out and get the lottery ticket, it's not going to happen. This is when we really meet momentum. And so the next couple of weeks until this happens, like almost 2 weeks, we got to start laying the groundwork in our minds. We have to start clearing the path between all of the blocks that says you can't do this, you're not capable of it, it'll never work. We're going to overcome all of that. And as we make this major move past Pluto, we're going to see a lot of that self-limitations move and transcend into personal empowerment. Now we're going to really start to see how we create our own reality and how powerful we actually are as beings. And we're going to have that power to say to people, you know what, I don't need this stress in my life. I don't need what you bring to me. And we don't have to be mean about it. And we don't necessarily sometimes deal with anything at all. We just simply let others do their thing and understand that we're not meeting them vibrationally there. We can't go down to their level. And we're going to make demands on people that either they meet us up here or they let us go. And I think in all, it's like a really beautiful thing. And I don't even see a lot of emotional strife from this because it's Capricorn and Aquarius energy. We're able to take all of those deep feelings of guilt or remorse or, victim mentality, and we can transcend that as well. We're really going to overcome all of that BS in our lives so that we can embrace this new feeling. So you really want to have an idea of where that freedom is that you want. Is it in relationships? Is it financially? Is it with your time? Is it with your children? Where do you require this freedom and your ability to be yourself and express yourself and to do the things that you truly love? So we're really breaking free this couple of weeks, guys. It's such beautiful transits for the next couple of weeks. I'm so excited to tell that to you. I feel like I have been sitting in this room for a couple of years delivering one tough call after the other, more hard work, more introspection, more, limitations. And you have to remember that when we go through years like that, the universe always rebalances it. One of the cards that have been coming up for me in almost literally every single reading is this idea of reciprocity. And that's what this Mars and Venus is going to bring to us. It's this rebalancing of who we are internally with our external lives and our ability to express who we truly are, breaking free from those social constraints and all of that stuff that we've got going on. You're gonna see these transits coming up are really getting us ready for this age of Aquarius, and in a few years Pluto's gonna make its transition into Aquarius, finally letting go. Relief for my Capricorns and my Cancers, my Libras and my Aries for sure. But he's going to move into Aquarius and things are going to start to really look different. I promise you 5-6 years from now, you're going to look back at this moment and think, oh my God, that felt so long ago. I can't even remember when my life was like that. So I hope that this gives you a little bit of hope and faith in the things that can occur right now. And I'm going to tell you to keep going and keep dreaming because we're making really big changes. They won't happen overnight. They never do, but they're happening nonetheless. So guys, take a good look at the thumbnail. There's 3 piles here. The first pile, I used a green amazonite stone. The second pile is a rose quartz tower, and the third is my favorite lapis lazuli. So take a moment, see what resonates, listen to all 3, do however you always do. And I hope that these messages find you well, and I hope that they help. I love you guys so much. Take care. Have an awesome February. If I don't see you next week, I will certainly be here by the week after. All right. Take care, guys. Bye. All right, pile number 1. You guys chose the green amazonite stone. Immediately when I look at the green, and there's obviously, you could see there's like a lot of flowing green within this reading. Ultimately, we're always referring to a heart healing here, or a heart opening. And I do feel like this energy comes from within for you this week, or the next couple of weeks, as we're going through this cycle. Now, part of this reading, and what's really hitting me so strongly, is this Mars-Venus conjunction. It's a pretty big deal, mostly because it reaches culmination as it hits Pluto. And this is really this part of our chart, this Capricorn energy that we have all really been working on for the past couple of years. And it is in regards to our purpose, our structures, what we've set our lives up for. So right here, first card out representing your environment is that of the Venom card. Now I left it came out in reverse, and I left it in reverse because to me it is symbolizing a certain element within your life, most likely something very toxic, that is in the process of being removed. Now, you could see this element of toxicity in your relationships, in your work, in, just something within your environment. And a reminder that when something is draining you, whether that's a relationship or a job, and I tell you guys this all the time, you have to pay attention to your body. Because we are so conditioned to please others, right? Like, we've all been taught that if we can make other people happy, or if we can appease a situation, then everything will work out and everybody's happy. But we don't really take the time to realize that by not being heard, or by not paying attention to the way that we physically feel in these situations, we become so accustomed to it that it's hard to recognize how unhealthy we become. And I'm also picking up an element here of time. I think that whatever situation or toxic environment you've been in, we're not talking about something new. We're also most likely not talking about something you're not aware of. So this isn't like, a current like love relationship and all of a sudden you're about to find out some terrible stuff about this person. Like, no, you've known this all along. And I get the feeling that you were in a mode of trying to increase, right? We've got this part of fortune increase here, trying to bring an element of change in your life. But oftentimes what we do just as humans, because we want safety, we want assurance, is we try to put all the pieces together before we leave the old situation, right? So like, of course, most of us, Capricorn season, like, we want to secure the other job, or we want to make sure that we are independent financially, or everything is kind of like kosher in order for us to implement this change in our lives. And now here we've got this Ace of Cups, and we've got this card number 12 breaking down to a 3, and it says slow and steady. When I see an Ace of Cups in reverse, it's a failure to launch. Oftentimes an Ace of Cups in reverse is where we look at situations and we see them in a light where we're not sure this is going to be abundant. We're not sure that this is where we want to invest our time and money. Oftentimes, if we're staying in situations when we know better, then that's like a lack of self-love, right? If we're not being heard, if we're not being seen in our relationships or in our jobs, with what we do in our lives, if we're not being seen and yet we're not doing anything about it, then that is in and of itself a lack of self-love. Now, underneath this part of fortune here, we have the Wheel of Fortune and you are good enough, full moon in Virgo. And I think this is where stuff starts to change, when you start to look. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a level of perfectionism that comes from Virgo. Virgos are the epitome of the failure to launch because everything has to be perfect and in place before we make the move. Now, I say that because I am a Virgo. I actually have a Virgo stellium. I deal with this energy all the time. There's this feeling like I'm not ready, right? And the thing is, the universe doesn't always need us to be ready. And I think that's what you're going to find within the next few weeks as Venus makes this conjunction with Mars. She's going to move into a conjunction with Mars and Pluto. And most of March, she's going to be kind of hand in hand with Mars, meaning there's a balance between our masculine and feminine. And I think that's really important for you to understand, because an Ace of Cups in reverse, there's a lack of feminine energy. And so you have to start to figure out why. What are we not trusting? Is there something that we're working on and we just don't want to like really take the risk? Because this energy is going to bring in your ability to actually take the risk. Now, when I see here right in the center, we've got the King of Pentacles and we've got this card number 20, Imagine. Now, you guys actually pulled 2 number 20 cards. So I just want to point that out. I think I've been seeing so many synchronicities lately of this 222, reminding me of like not just where we are, the 222 year in 2022, which breaks down to a 6, but there's also like an extra emphasis of this as we go through February and we're looking at just simply the dates, right? Like we had 222. It's really a time of synchronicity, and it's not just with these planets coming together. There's so much within us, within our energetic fields that are balancing and synchronizing. And what we're going to go through this week is this aspect with Jupiter and Uranus, which is like really sudden downloads on how to grow yourself, how to grow your life, how to grow your potential, how to believe in yourself. And there can be almost this other entity that kind of takes over and says, all right, no, now's the time to make the move. And you could really be stepping out of your comfort zone here when I'm looking at this. I think it's important for you if you're asking yourself the right questions right now. Now, I'm not 100% feeling like the love coming from this reading, in case anybody's actually out there questioning or wondering, like, is this love or is this work? I really do feel like this is more of a financial or work endeavor that we're working on here. And I think you have to start looking at life with a little bit more imagination, an acknowledgement of the universe having unlimited abundance, right? So I'm kind of drawn back to this feeling like you could never do this thing that you love for a living because it would never pay the bills, right? There's an emphasis on your stability, the King of Pentacles. But the thing about the King of Pentacles is he doesn't worry. See, the Ace of Cups in reverse is really what's tripping you up, because you're not fully invested, you're not fully believing in yourself. There's almost a lack of confidence in some way. There's a lack of drive and momentum in your ability to believe that when... And they just keep showing me this meme. I'm sure you guys have seen it on Instagram. I've seen it a million times, but there's like this picture of this person like on the edge of a cliff or whatever. And there's a hand that's kind of pushing them off the cliff. And then there's another hand on the bottom, and it's the universe catching you. And it's our ability to believe and trust in our own potential, in our own dreams. Like, I have to reiterate this. If there's something that you're particularly good at, something that you love to do, and you want to make this thing your full-time job, your bread and butter, this is where you want to invest all of your time, you want to really highlight this. There's this feeling of it being such a big part of you. You don't know how it's going to work out. See, that's a tricky thing. Like, there's no guarantees here. We don't know how it's going to work around. And so we do have to lean into that imagination. But Uranus in Taurus, being in a very financial sector of our lives, right? Being in an element of our self-worth is kind of like this opportunity to see everything through a different set of eyes, where we begin to realize that this dream that we have is so worth it. And the only thing holding you back is your own self-limited thoughts, your own doubt as to how it's going to work out or how you have time. There's an emphasis of time here for me with these three. We've got the Wheel of Fortune, we've got the King of Pentacles, and we have this Three of Pentacles. And I'm almost seeing like just this emphasis on time, like how much time and energy has already been invested in something else, how much time and energy you're investing in this. And I'm going to tell you right now, the universe is really going to make it clear to you. It's going to do, I mean, when we've got a Jupiter-Uranus aspect and it's a sextile, you can expect at the very least clarity will be gained. Especially at the end of this week, we've got Mars going through its third and final trip through that conjunction with Pluto, which is really pretty cool because we're wrapping up that story there with Mercury, but it's also a trigger point, and it's going to make things clear to you. You're going to start to see the truth for what it is. And I think at some point it's going to become undeniable. This calling that you have, this thing that you want, that you want to make concrete. And even though right now it seems almost like a fairy tale or something that's unattainable, or you're saying, oh my God, I have no idea how I could make that possibly happen. How do I integrate that in my life and still pay my bills and still like be able to survive as a human being? And like, these are all really scary things. And I want you to take a second, like think about, give yourself examples of people it has worked out for, right? Like you look at famous singers, famous musicians, famous artists, famous actors. Like there was no guarantees when they went into that game. There was nobody that said, oh, I promise you, just take this leap of faith and all of your dreams will come true. If you are waiting for some sort of a guarantee, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And I'm telling you that you will stay stuck. But if you allow your imagination to kind of float around these ideas, how did this all work out for these other people? Why am I not one of those people that experience that kind of life? When you start to see how it works out for other people, you can start to wrap your head around the very real possibility that the universe, when you are aligned with something, works with you. And that's the idea of manifestation. You bring something in, it's in alignment with you, and so it just starts to happen. And it's really not about the effort right now. Now we also have this Three of Pentacles in reverse, and we have this endurance, the Rock. And I'm going to tell you that most likely, right, we've got the Venom card in reverse. There is an element within your life. There is an element within, maybe this is co-workers, maybe this is a toxic boss, maybe this is just a toxic work environment, but the universe is pushing you to leave. And we have the endurance card here, the Rock, and I think that you have taken a lot of time, energy, and effort into forcing something to stay the same or staying where you are. See, I get this endurance, the Rock, like you've taken so much so far. And I think you're afraid, most likely, to disappoint people. Because when you start to step into this new reality, when you start to step into this new mindset where everything is absolutely possible, there is no limits, you can succeed. When you start to step into this mindset, you're going to feel farther and farther pulled away from these people, which have probably been a pretty big structure in your life. Now, I don't see it much as a healthy structure, although I'm sure it served its purpose, right? Endurance, the Rock. But again, that idea of having to dive off that cliff, having to let go of that security, allow yourself to free fall and see where it goes. And I know how frightening that is. And if you go into this and you force yourself to take this risk and you're not fully believing in it, you're going to find yourself in all sorts of ways reaching out to this old storyline. You know, even if it's like a toxic ex or something, and all of a sudden you're like alone and you get that pang of like loneliness, or I just want to go out to dinner, or I want to go do something with somebody, and then you call that toxic ex, I could promise you the universe is going to make it uncomfortable. Say, here's where we're at right now. Like, we don't have time to make these same mistakes over and over. And that's what this whole Uranus-Saturn square has been. And we're now in this element between these two moons in the next couple of weeks. It's speaking louder and louder. But the difference between now and 2020 and the difference between now and 2021 is that now the path has been cleared. And the only thing that you see holding yourself back is you. And that's what this whole Venus-Pluto situation has been, is about clearing out all of that deep emotional psyche kind of stuff that tells us we can't take this risk, we're not capable, we're not good enough, like whatever it is below the surface making us believe that we can't have things that we're really truly meant for. And we have to work all of that out. But I just want to point out how beautiful this procession is, because I feel like you're fighting with yourself. The universe is really pushing you to see things from a different perspective, and you're starting to see where you do want to plant seeds, and that you do have control, and that most likely you are in a much better situation than you even think you are. If it's terms of like, have I had enough training? Do I have enough school? Do I have enough savings in the bank? Do I have enough support? You do. You have all of those things. Whatever it is that you're telling yourself, well, I should just wait for this thing to happen, most likely that thing's not needed. And it's important to tap into this imagination and this dream right now, and to really start to feel your way through it. Because, see, with an Ace of Cups in reverse, your intuition isn't so good. We're going to have to look at this thing from a different perspective, because here, this card number 20, endurance, the rock, like, there are things, like very real physical things, that are going to start to work themselves into your life. Now, whether that's a promotion, a raise, a different job offer, new connections in some way. And maybe it's not like the big thing. It could just be like little synchronicities throughout the day, throughout the weeks, that keeps you on this path. And it's those synchronicities that are going to teach you about that alignment, what's resonating with you, what isn't. Pay attention to your body here. Okay? Because your mind, your willpower, especially as Mars is going through Capricorn, there's really nothing we can't accomplish. But even if we put all our eggs in that basket, if we are ignoring physical and emotional pain in our lives, if we are ignoring the things that we know have to change, we're going to stay stuck in this endurance for the rest of our lives. And the thing is, I think that you're done being that support system for other people, and especially for other people that aren't holding up their end of the bargain. This has been this is an outdated role. You investing, you being the rock, you being the dependable one that everybody can rely on to keep things going, to, you know, and there seems to be like this big change here, and it's going to happen first in your heart. Then in your mind, you're going to make the adjustments to the way that you see things, and then boom, the physical reality always happens so fast. Guys, I can't say it enough. I was actually just talking about this the other day with some friends. Now is not the time to hesitate on things. We are really entering this very fast-moving portal between now and the end of April. All planets are direct. We are in such a preparation phase for the new life, which we have been wanting for so long, for so many years. That's what all of this has been about. Now is not the time to write a list about the 20 reasons why you're not ready to take this risk, right? This isn't the time for that. Like, now is the time where you tune into your body, you tune into your higher voice, and you start to make decisions with your future in mind, right? We've got this Queen of Swords. Like, let's not forget, we are in Aquarius season. And there are some things that the universe wants you to emotionally detach from. See, her back is completely turned to this upside down Three of Pentacles. These are the people and the things in her life that are no longer working. And you could either get stuck in a cycle of trying to force it to work, or just being brave enough to acknowledge the expiration date. And here we have this Queen of Swords, and then we have this card, Manifestation. Your insight is limitless. Trust that your vision is true. Believe that your wisdom and creative powers can manifest what your heart desires. Do not doubt. Your intelligence and resourcefulness will forge your dream into reality now. Look, the investment has to be in you. And the investment has to be in the new. We can't drag anybody around anymore. We can't, drag somebody over the finish line. We can't be responsible for all these other things. Like, this is really an energy where you are stepping out bravely on your own to make these really big moves. It won't be easy. There is an element of things that you have to leave behind. The core of those things is your self-worth. And there's a reminder that we are in our ego when we think that others need us, right? Like the whole idea of enabling others, always picking up the slack, always doing all of the work, always being that person that comes in here and saves the day. Well, what happens if you don't save the day? What happens is you get to drop a whole lot of baggage and a whole lot of heaviness, and you could start investing in things that really truly make you happy. You get to leave all of that behind and just focus on how and why you know in your heart and your soul that this new thing is just absolutely meant for you. Look, we're future forward thinking right now. That's what Aquarius season is all about. We still have this entire couple of weeks before Mars and Venus move into Aquarius together, kind of starting this new phase in our lives, which is what happens when Mars and Venus comes together, is that we get to start a new phase. That's how all of astrology works, really. We're starting new cycles and new phases, but this is very, what do we want the new future to look like? How do we want to feel in it? Do we, are we seeking freedom? Are we seeking the ability to be more creative and less dogmatic, more freedom of time, less scheduling? There's so much here that we could look at, but if you don't acknowledge the things that have to leave or the things that have to change, there's no planning the future. And in fact, you're draining yourself critical energy that you need to create this new thing. And it's also a reminder that you're creating this new storyline in your dreams. It's very much tied to very etheric realms, which means it's very much tied to your destiny and your purpose. And I see that a lot in people. I see somebody saying, oh, I wish I could be a healer. I wish I could do this, or I wish I could do that. And we could think of a million reasons, a million excuses, right? Like, I couldn't go out on my own because I've got make sure somebody covers the health insurance or whatever, like all these very real physical worries and concerns that we have in our lives. But what they do when we look at them from that perspective is hold us back from the thing that we've always wanted to achieve. And so I want you to kind of take a look at things from a different perspective. I want you to wonder to yourself, like, the biggest superstars in the world, the famous, the rich, the most creative people. If you look at like Joe Rogan or Tony Robbins or like whoever you're looking at, like not once did they stop and say, oh man, I just need to stay in this 9-to-5 job so I can keep my health insurance, right? Like what a shitty world it would be if these people weren't brave enough to step it up and believe in themselves. And that's what the universe, that's what it wants you to say. You got to be brave enough to believe in yourself, because it's not just about you. This is about the bigger picture. This is about what you have to contribute. This is about your ideas being expressed, your voice being heard, and that can't happen in the current environment that you're in. Remember, the synchronicities will lead you through this, and you don't have time to doubt. All right, pile number 1. I'm going to leave it there. What a beautiful message, guys. I love you so much. Take care, and I'll talk to you as soon as I can. Bye. All right, pile number 2, you guys chose the beautiful rose quartz crystal. Your card, your archetype card that we pulled for you is the ocean. And I am actually just going to jump in here and read the book on this one to you, because I think sometimes the words land technically for people, and I just want to make sure that you're clearly understanding that, because part of this reading may be you not quite understanding yourself yet. And I have a feeling that that's going to culminate in the next couple of weeks into a lot more understanding than you've ever had before. So let's take a look at this. The power of the ocean is unmatched. To step into its salty waters is to step into the unknown. By its sheer volume, the ocean represents the unconscious, all that is beyond our understanding. We cannot live within the ocean. We cannot claim it, manage it, or own it. It rejects our every attempt to dominate nature. Yet amid its overwhelming power, it calls to us, inspires us, and invigorates our life on land. It dissolves the little us into the big us. When the energy of the ocean is present, there is change stirring that is beyond any change you've known before. The ego must dissolve. The saline swells work on your every cell, your fibers, your deepest underlying beliefs. Like Aphrodite, we rise from the ocean's froth, a new being. Life is change. Let the wave crash. Now, this reading is very similar to the first reading, and I had a feeling, it feels like the last couple of weeks, all 3 piles are similar in their messaging. Now, the first reading seemed to be a little bit more about career finances. This one feels much more emotional. Now, I'm gauging relationships here within this reading, and it's just a reminder that it doesn't have to be a love relationship. It could be reflections of relationships with friends, with family members, with your children, like whatever dynamics that you're processing through at this time. But clearly the environment is that of the solar eclipse, a revolution. And I think that you're moving into a very emotional territory. And I do believe that it's going to feel very uncomfortable for a little while, probably leading up to this Mars-Venus conjunction, and probably leading up to or in and around what we have going on when Mercury is conjunct Pluto on Friday. What you'll see is gaining clarity. And I love that, because we've got this Ace of Swords. Well, there was a message. My dog just kind of snapped at my cat who was aggravating him. And I don't know. I'm sensing there might be some kind of a push this week or the next couple of weeks for you to really voice yourself in a lot of ways. Now, here we have the Moon card, and we actually have the Empress card. You guys actually came out with an extra card, and when I pulled it, I saw the Emperor. So technically it was over here at the end of the reading, but I kind of paired it up with the Empress here because I think it's showing the alignment between the masculine and feminine, which is kind of occurring for all of us right now. Mars, Venus joining together, our masculine and our feminine coming together in alignment, understanding the purpose of both energies. You may be looking at life in a lot of ways. Like, I've had these conversations with people recently where there's an imbalance. When you look at the way that we live lives, right? Like, there's a lot of single parents out there, a lot of people doing a lot of things alone, like juggling a lot of life all by themselves. And sometimes I think that that's a product of where we've been in relationships, right? We've been going through all these karmic lessons, being with the right people, learning from these relationships, learning how to get out of these relationships, learning how to, accept change in our lives. But oftentimes we go through hard relationships and we come out the other side feeling a little bit lonely, feeling like love, support, friendship, like these things are almost unattainable. And then we go on and on with our day-to-day normal life, and it can start to feel like there's really nothing special. And I think you're starting to look at life that way, like the longing for something special. And there's a delicate balance there because of the past wounding, because of the dashed dreams and hopes from our past, of like, do I really want to go down this road again? And I see you kind of really having kind of like that self-talk about your own intentions. See, the thing is, I don't see a lot of anybody else coming through this reading. So my guess is this is kind of like an inner conflict. And it's an inner conflict to even involve somebody else or to even rely on somebody else, or to merge lives in some way. I mean, when we have the Empress and the Emperor coming up, for me, that is a sign that there is a very fated, real, purposeful relationship. Now, the thing is, we've got this Moon card here and we've got the Ocean card, and so things will most likely feel a little distorted. The universe is getting you out of your physical body, right? Getting you out of that masculine energy, asking you to tap into the more feminine parts of yourself, the more feeling. And I actually think it's a really good idea. Like, we've got the Empress card here, we've got this Queen of Wands. There's almost something very stepping into a more sexual and or sensual kind of existence. I want to point that out to you because sometimes we can get so busy with life, right? Like all the things that we have to do. We never really sit down and create the environment or appreciate it, like setting the tone. And I think that if you're in a relationship with somebody, if you're just establishing a bond in some way, I think it's really important to set your intentions and make them clear for each other this month, because right now you're most likely in this element of, I don't really know where this is going. I don't know what I want with life, and we all think like we have all this control. That's what I love about that Ocean card, where it's like the little us gets to be the big us, right? we get to step out of this ego-driven, day-to-day need to accomplish, need to be in the masculine energy, and the universe is giving us an escape. But we've got this Four of Pentacles here, and this is the holding on. This is the fear. This is the gripping onto the 3D. So to me, there's almost a falling in love, and yet being so uncomfortable, because when we are truly merging with someone else, we have to take the filters off, right? We're a very filtered existence right now. Like, you look at your phone, you don't know what people actually look like. Everyone looks fantastic and amazing in their pictures on social media. But the universe is asking you to really get real with yourself, to come forward, to be vulnerable, I think, in a lot of ways, and also to follow your instincts. And the Queen of Wands always reminds me, and look at, she's actually sitting here surrounded by all these little candles, which is all these little lights of desire. And it's a reminder that your desires are so important right now. Like, I just want to get away. I just want to have a vacation. I just want to spend time with this loved one. These desires are real and they're purposeful. And in order to take advantage of this, in order to achieve this, in order to really have this merging or this coming together with another person, we have to ultimately be willing to let go. Right? Like, look at, we've got the Empress here, and then step out of your comfort zone, North Node. Here we've got this card number 39, protecting treasure, right underneath this moon. There's a need for safety. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to feel safe. Again, the same as pile number 1. There is no guarantees that this thing that you want, or what you want to work out, or where your heart is leading you to, there is not going to be a single point of safety for you. Like, you're just going to have to say how you feel, and there's no guarantee that this person feels the same way, or they're going to reciprocate in some way. And that's where it's scary. And the universe is trying to shove you out of that little you and into the big you, right? We're going to grow from this regardless of how the outcome is. We know that ultimately this is leading us towards growth, right? Solar eclipse, a revolution. This is about embracing the change. It's about recognizing how you want your life to be different, or how you want love to be different for you, or how you want just a taste of life to be different, I don't know why I'm getting drawn to like somebody just like slapping that alarm clock every morning and dreading going to their job and coming home and everything just feels gray and mundane. And it's very clear the things that you want to experience, and it's very clear what you're kind of growing tired of. But you have to let go of the old way of being in order to invite this new thing in. Most likely what happened over the course of the last year or so is we all started to like really step into this revolutionary power with this Uranus-Saturn square that we've all been going through. And I told you that we would hit a certain point in 2022 where the square would lighten up. We've kind of seen what things are. We've come to decisions, like we know what we want, we know what we don't want anymore. But for so long, we were kind of frozen and not able to make these changes. And I'm telling you that right now, from right now until mid-April, there's a clearing where all things are possible. We've got Jupiter in Pisces. It's making a sextile to Uranus this week. This is really building the pressure for you to be able to take the risks, to say the things, to be emotionally vulnerable, to make your wishes. You know, even if this is just a conversation with you and yourself, lighting a candle and talking to the universe and saying, you know what, I've done the whole playing hard, doing the hard things, surviving. And I want something softer in my life. And that's what I feel. And I felt like that with this rose quartz. I felt like this, especially with this exchanging gifts, card number 7. There's a softening that you're requesting in your life. I want to feel the love. I want to feel the support. I want to feel, you know, the soulmate kind of energy. I want to be around people that I feel safe with and people that are aligned with me, with my beliefs. Now, that's not to say that we can't like be friendly with people that don't agree with every one of our opinions. We're also learning that. But we want to be in the softer environments. We have this exchanging gifts, card number 27. This always reminds me of the 2 of Cups. Now, this breaks down to a 9. And I think this is about mastery, right? Ace of Swords, 27. There's some kind of a realization here, and especially with this Queen of Wands and this 4 of Pentacles, where you realize at some point in your life, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to finances especially, you're never going to have more than you think you deserve. I say it all the time, guys. I'll tell you the same thing. Like, if you fall in love with somebody and you know that they have issues and they don't really truly love themselves, like, for instance, if you fall in love with somebody who has addiction issues, the addiction comes from a lack of self-love. And so, of course, our ego, right? Our desire, we want to like save it. We want to save them. We want to be in love. We want to save these people. We want to change them. And that's not really how this whole thing works. Like that's kind of our lesson here on earth, is not that we have to sacrifice and be so uncomfortable and go through so much pain in order to make something work. Because we know that we create our own reality. And so when those situations came up, and they all have for all of us, when we were in those unreciprocated relationships in some way where we felt like we were doing all of the work, we were making all of the sacrifices, that was the universe showing you this isn't how you manifest or attract the things that are truly meant for you, because you can't do it from a place of lack. The Ace of Swords is this insight, this unparalleled honesty, most likely, again, a conversation with yourself or a conversation with somebody else that makes it very clear to you what you want, what the next steps are. And I love that we got this exchanging gifts, card number 27 with the 6 of Pentacles, because this is all about the reciprocity. And it's all about the acknowledgement that we will only get what we put into it. If we continue to put ourselves in situations where we're always sacrificing, then you have to expect to always continue the sacrifice. But when we are in an even give and take, Emperor, Empress, soulmate energy, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say my favorite poem. I say it all the time, at least once a month in here. The sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Right? Like, we tend to look at our relationships like, what's this doing for me? What's this doing for them? What's the equal give and take? And quite honestly, I get the impression that you're looking for something much deeper. It's not about the give and take. It's not about the who does what. It's about, at the end of the day, having that safe place where there is no judgment, where you don't have to be perfect, where you can be vulnerable. You might spend 20 hours a day, really holding people together. But you know that at the end of the day, you can come home to this safe place and somebody holds you together. And we have this Ace of Swords, and we have this card number 2, this adventure south. See, and I like this energy with this Queen of Wands, because I just get the idea that there's a lot of sexual chemistry kind of mixed up in here. And maybe that's the desire that's pulling you closer and closer to taking this risk. And the universe wants you to have an adventure, right? Like I said, I just get this feeling that we've been stuck in this mundane kind of Groundhog Day existence, and you are so ready for this revolution. You're so ready for this adventure. And underneath the Six of Pentacles, we have this card, Power. Smooth soaring ahead. You can lead with authority and mystical power. You are blessed with an innate courage, tenacity, and sophistication, but you are your greatest challenge. Refrain from self-criticism and doubt. Ultimate success is predestined. See, what you're wanting, it's already yours. The universe is just waiting for you to claim it, and that's this power. And that's what happens when Venus comes together with Mars in the sign of Capricorn, and they both together make this final approach to Pluto, who has been really dictating so many things for so many years, where he's been so powerful here. Remember that he too is closing up a cycle. There's a lot of endings coming through with Pluto, which means there's a lot of elements within our lives that are coming to an end. We are simply making space for this new way of existence. This is a really beautiful reading of somebody who is really, truly just, if not falling in love with somebody, then falling in love with life. Ready to taste something very different. This isn't about being tied down. This isn't about being controlled. This isn't, if you're in a relationship, it's not about restraint. It's not about control. It's not about, it's about the ability to be yourself, which is where the freedom ultimately comes from. And it's a blessing. Really beautiful reading, guys. I'm going to leave it there. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you as soon as I can. Have a great week. Bye. All right, pile number 3. You guys chose a beautiful lapis lazuli stone. It's absolutely one of my favorite crystals. Personally, one of my very favorite crystals that I work with. I have to tell you guys, I'm going to do the same thing I did for pile number 2, and I kind of wish I can go back and do it for pile number 1, and I apologize if you listened to 1. I should have thought of it, but I do want to read the medallion archetype card for you guys, because I just think the way that it lands, this particular card, is going to give you a good idea of whether this reading resonates with you, if it's for you. Your card representing your current situation, your energy, is the medallion. The passing on of sacred objects is an ancient ritual within families, between lovers, and in tribes across the globe. We gift jewels, treasures, keepsakes, and mementos of all kind, some of great material value, others that hold emotional resonance, and still others with both. Yet when these gifts are bestowed upon us, it is important to recognize that they may bind us to an unspoken agreement or promise. When the medallion card appears, be aware of how the objects you hold dear may be embedded with unconscious energy or expectations. Material Materials hold consciousness, and it's time to reconcile the vibration of the object around you. What do you covet and collect, and why? Is there an object you have held on for years that you are ready to release? Perhaps it is a time to reach for the medallion that aligns with your deepest values. So, for some of you, this can quite literally represent something that you own, or something that was passed on to you, somewhat of like an inheritance, or maybe even feeling like you're carrying an ancestral, the word bondage is coming up. I don't get a warm and fuzzy feeling from this medallion. In fact, it comes with a heaviness and a burden. Now, they used a couple of different examples there, like we give gifts to lovers. So maybe this is symbolizing, a wedding ring. I kind of see a ring there. But most likely, it is a gift or a physical object or a thing that creates a burden or an obligation for you in some way. Your energy here, card number 1, or 21 breaking down to a 3, is Sagittarius, I see. And let's not forget, we have the Sagittarius energy also coming from this King of Wands. My fire, we also have another Leo card for strength. And I do feel like the need for freedom. Now, let's tie this medallion to a simple example. Let's say that your family owns a home, and with the passing on, it got passed towards you. And this home probably serves as something that keeps you grounded. It's an investment, it's a property. But I get the sense that it isn't exactly your dream or something that you particularly wanted. If we're talking about a marriage, we're probably feeling like the energy of the burden of it rather than the gifts or the potential that we sought from it when it began. Now, when I get a Page of Pentacles here, it's an omen to me that something new stepped into your life. Whether there was a new idea, maybe you're learning a new skill, maybe you're starting a new relationship. Definitely something that's very early on. I'm trying to think of how to tie this in with a house. So you have this home that you live in that's been passed down from the family, and it's beginning to take on this feeling of a burden. Page of Pentacles is like finding a new house that you like, or maybe the idea that you want to move into like a condo, or maybe you just want to travel and not be tied down with real estate in some way. Page of Pentacles is like a very new, real idea. But it's something that we're trying to bring into the physical existence, right? It's important to acknowledge with the Page of Pentacles because we see ideas all the time. We see them come through as swords or as wands, like a desire or a wanting. But when there's a pentacle, there's something very real and foundational about it. And so in the very least, I feel like you are open to or desiring a certain level of change in your life, to move out of one phase of life and to move out of the other. And this 8 of Swords in reverse is kind of a very good omen that you're starting to break free of all the reasons why you can't, right? So we have this 8 of Swords in reverse, and I really like that it's in reverse because there may have been a feeling for some time of all of that self-doubt creeping in. Like, if I walked away from this, if I let this go, maybe I would have to carry guilt, or maybe other people would be mad, or, whatever it is. 8 of Swords is like the negative thought processes or all of the excuses. Maybe even a lack of attention in some way to learning the new skill that's keeping you from obtaining this vision. But I want you to know that this vision, this Page of Pentacles, this new thing, this was not made in haste. Like, this isn't just like a phase. And I don't want you to get into a place where you start listening to those Eight of Swords, because I think that there's been certain levels of breakthrough for you. As time passes by, you start to, we begin very rigid. Oh, I can never let that go. Oh, I can never make that change. I can never give this up, or blah, blah, blah. But over time, our soul grows. Like we grow, we become something new, and this no longer resonates. And so we're always searching for that freedom in order for expansion. You're going to feel this a lot in the next couple of weeks. It's starting out with this Jupiter making a sextile to Uranus, and we're talking about our values changing. I've been telling you guys that our values and our priorities have been under a deep review for the past couple of years, and things are changing. We're not making decisions based on the reasons why we made decisions before. We're not looking really for security or safety or guarantees. Like, this is our soul wanting to reach out and do that next thing. If this is a marriage, maybe this Page of Pentacles can even represent a new relationship. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be another love relationship or another love interest, or it just might be a friend or somebody that inspires you to make the changes that you desire and to break free of the guilt and what everybody else thinks, or what they'll think of you if you make this change. See, the Page of Pentacles is right above this card number 25, which breaks down to a 7, and it's a card of metamorphosis. And this is what I mean, this energy, this Page of Pentacles, whether it's an idea, a new skill, a person, maybe it's a little bit of all. The universe tends to bring you whatever it is that you require in life to get you to move. So it could be more than one thing. But these things are quite simply here to get you to change, to get you to believe in the change, to get you to see the greater vision. Now remember, Sagittarius, I see, he's the archer. And I think you have a goal in mind. I think at the very least you have I want life to look like this, whether that's in your love relationships, whether that's what you do for a career, how you spend your time. It's the archer. And there's very deliberate aim. And even if it comes through subconsciously, which it might, right? And I was getting the sense the word sabotage came to mind with this Eight of Swords as well. And then I looked underneath and it says your commitment is being tested first quarter moon. And there might have been almost a lull or a break or an acceptance that this was just a dream. That's how I want to say. There's like this thing that comes through that says, okay, maybe I'm not strong enough to make this change, and maybe I should just accept things for who they are and what they are. Your commitment is being tested, and your commitment is to that of the vision, the Two of Wands. This is you looking at the things that you want and require in your life. What is the new vision? And there's very real things that you have to do to make this vision come into play, to really make this your own. To take this from like a dream and how to get it into the 3D world. And for that, I think the Mars in Capricorn, Mars making a conjunction with Venus, and then Mars moving into Aquarius is really like the changing of the guards here. And I do think that if you allow yourself to indulge a little more in the dream, to indulge and dedicate more energy to this Page of Pentacles, and I'm hearing hell or high water. Look, we can't go through life just making wishes. We have to make the moves, right? We've got 43, deep knowing. Now notice we've got a 7 here, we've got a 7 here, we've got these 2 cards of adjustments right next to this commitment. I think at one time you were fully committed to this Page of Pentacles before it became a reality. There was a commitment in your soul, in the alignment with what you want, that said, no, this is what I want more than anything. And the Eight of Swords is you holding back the doubt and really, I want to say finding a balance between your mind and your ability to manifest it. See, the mind is getting in your way right now. Whether it is a fear of a type of communication, now I'm drawn to like the blue here. I know that a lot of times when we focus on the blue, we focus on the throat chakra, meaning that there are messages, there are communications, probably words you need to say to others, probably maybe even contracts of some sort, or starting to get this going. If you're looking at possibly asking somebody for a divorce, right? Because that's a major change, stepping out of the new or stepping out of the old so you can embrace the new. I think for a time being, there was a lull or a pause in the plan. A little time for introspection, right? Like that's what this whole retrograde was about. Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde. Like, all right, let's look at the bigger picture. Let's gauge where we are now. Underneath this Two of Wands, we have this deep knowing, which tells me that you've known for some time that this Page of Pentacles is what you truly deeply desire in your life. And for a brief moment, there was the intention that we could maybe live without that and settle for the old because it's easier. Look, we've got the Eight of Swords and the Nine of Swords. There's a lot of fear and hesitation and anxiety around this Two of Wands, which tells me that there's a lot of reasons why in your head, in your environment, other people talking, a lot of reasons why you shouldn't make this move. Nine of Swords is always creeping self-doubt, like honestly, like debilitating. And it is the fear that you are stuck in, right? Because here we've got this King of Wands and we've got this ignition fire card. This is all about Mars in Capricorn, and this is all about like actually initiating the process. And if you're going to initiate this process, I think you're well aware that there is something deeply tied to you via contracts, via ancestral karmic contracts that has to come to an end. And I think when it comes right up to that point, you are severely afraid and frozen. You're having a hard time with this initiation process. But what I love is for the outcome, we have this Strength card, this 8, which is again that Leo energy. Let's look into that Leo archetype for a second. The Leo isn't held back. Now they're incredibly gracious and loyal always. Loyal with their heart. But they don't sell their dreams short, right? They represent our vitality. The Leo energy is an archetype of our creativity, our inner self. And I think you know that where you're at right now isn't a good fit for you anymore. I think you know that this doesn't fit who you are, and maybe it served a purpose at some point, but if you don't allow yourself to grow, and if you don't allow yourself to leave these old situations, then you're really going to know, you're never going to know your full potential. And I want to remind you that this, like I'm hearing the word treasure, this Page of Pentacles, this is a treasure. This is also an ancestral gift of some sort. Now, I oftentimes think that we all kind of have like this council above us, guiding us, right? And I love the memes that you see on Instagram a lot about like what my guides are saying as they're trying to guide me through my day. And I find those hysterical because we really truly are our own worst enemy. And there's probably a lot of people, and I do this myself, like I make a mountain out of a whole molehill, right? And all this Pluto stuff that we've been going through, it can really make things seem so much worse, so much detrimental than they are. Really, the universe just wants you to change. It wants that death and rebirth process, which means we're not afraid of letting go of the old energy and inviting the new. We've gotten this far for a reason. And because you pulled this deep knowing card, I think you know that this Two of Wands vision for your future is so much more in alignment with who you are now. And I think you know that you've not just attracted this to you, but that it is indeed a part of your destiny. And I want to tell you that this Two of Wands, this Page of Pentacles, needs your protection. And that's what the Strength card is about, is that at the end of the day, you have to realize that you've been through what you've gone through. You've had this desire ignited in your heart for a reason. And this isn't going to go away. This is going to become more uncomfortable, this old life. And here underneath the Strength card, we have this Master. You can solve your problems naturally and cleverly. Proceed with courage and a decisive strategy. Let your opponent underestimate you. A Taoist master uses soft to conquer hard. Leverage the power of your adversary to your advantage. Now, this is a reminder, guys. We've got Sag. It's all about the fire, and your problem is initiating. Your problem is grasping the fire. So you may be a little stuck in the mundane 3D world, logically trying to figure out how all of this is going to come together. How is this going to work? Which means you're probably overthinking it all. Which is very much what we do when we're in a Nine of Swords energy. We make the worst case scenario, kind of create and manifest it. And I think what happens when Mars makes this conjunction with Pluto, with Venus, and crosses over Pluto, we are urged to come into alignment, both our feminine and masculine energies, and to step into our own power. And you have to remember that we are starting major new cycles here as this aspect is happening. We have to balance the softer side as well as the harder side, which means there's probably areas in life where we have to set some really hard boundaries. But it's also just equally as important to open up, to believe in the universe, to believe in your dreams, to believe in the things that you want to do, to believe in the gifts that you've been given. And so I think if you've had this approach where you've had to stay very hard and disciplined in that masculine energy, then the universe is asking you to soften, to believe in it, to allow it to work for you, with you. Allow this to unfold and don't work so hard to try to avoid this change. And vice versa, if you've been in a very feminine energy, which means you've been softer, you've been allowing others to kind of dictate, you know, like for instance, you say to somebody, oh, I just really wish I could move to another state. And they're just like, oh my God, you could never do that. You can't leave what you have. What would you do with this? You know, like everybody likes to point out all your obligations. And I think in that case, you have to step a little bit more into the masculine and embrace your intuition. Now, these are all cards of intuition, right? We've got Sag, I see, King of Wands, ignition, fire, deep knowing. Listen, if there is something in your mind and you honestly don't know, then you don't know. But the thing that I'm talking about, the thing in this reading is like the thing you've never been more sure of. The thing that's never resonated quite so well. Like if it's another person, it's like that attraction you've never had before, that level of love you've never felt before. And in that moment, okay, like when you're doing it, when you're doing that thing, when you're doing that skill, when you're working on that business, when you're in love with that person, when you're having those conversations, there's not a doubt in your mind and nothing compares to it. And I just want to point out to you that that is how you know the difference. And those things that set our soul on fire, those things that ignite us from within, that carry us to places we never thought we'd have the courage to go, those are gifts. That's the universe speaking through you, channeling through you, and letting you know you have a greater purpose. It's not a time to be in self-doubt. This is a time to strategize and to plan and to commit to this new vision, regardless of all of the consequences. The universe wants you to achieve this freedom. Trust that it's going to have your back and support you. Trust yourself. All right, pile number 3, really beautiful reading. I am going to leave it there. I do hope everybody has a wonderful week, and hopefully I'll be back as soon as possible with another reading. Take care, guys. Bye.